Well, hello everyone. As usual, we bring you the updates of what we've experienced during the week. Today, I will speak less and have Erik and Mel speak more because, if I'm allowed to say so, I have really finally stepped into my power and feel like I've been in combat all morning. So I am going to just introduce the show, and Mel and Erik will take over most of what we shared today. This battle has been long, a very long one, and long before I started sharing with you, before I met Mel, before I met Erik, I've been fighting this battle for close to 25 years, or maybe more, because the Dutchman apparently initially started. I was just oblivious and thought I had bad luck. But to date, we are still fighting. And it's becoming clearer and clearer to me. Mel, Erik, and I, if I may speak on their behalf, we're meant to be, and I've mentioned this before, we're meant to be connected because we are participating in a war that those of you who are awake and aware know is happening in parallel. And for me, being on the forefront of this, what is happening in the spiritual war is way worse than what is happening in the human war. And I would say that is because so many humans are asleep. And when we try to, I know for me, because a lot of the people I associate with are completely oblivious to this. They think I am crazy. And they've actually told me this. This is why I mention it so frequently. But no one defines who I am. And I will tell you this with absolute certainty. I am way more sane than half of you that I associate with. And it's not a judgment. It's my observation based on what I've been living and what I know. So having said that, I'm going to welcome Mel and Erik, and maybe as this unfolds, what I'm saying now will make more sense to you. There is a video that I will insert at the beginning of this show today, where the person sharing the information is not a medium or an angel or a dragon like we are in our spiritual forms, but a regular human who has been researching this whole spiritual stuff. So I will insert it in here at some point during the video today, so when you see it, you will know why it's here.
I do think that there is a link between what we call psychic phenomena, telepathy, or psionics, as is the more neutral term that's used by the military and the defense community. I do believe that there is a connection between human psionic abilities, telepathic, psychic abilities, and consciousness, and that the UAP phenomenon is tied into that. And I suspect this is one of the largest reasons for why this is being kept secret and for why the NHI are not overtly showing themselves. And my growing hypothesis, it's just a hypothesis because there's a few things I can't tell you right now that I'm going to be reporting on in coming weeks, and I'm very excited to be bringing you that story. But I do know that the Air Force has been working on psionics for many, many decades. They never stopped investigating the power of the human mind and consciousness ever since the Stargate program and the remote viewing program. I know it's been poo-pooed. I know there's a George Clooney movie based on John Ronson's book called The Men Who Stare at Goats. And I know all the supposed debunkers say it's BS. But I can tell you, it's not BS. I've seen it for myself, and it's real. And in forthcoming weeks, you will see why I say it's real And I believe the United States Air Force has knowingly deceived Congress, successive presidents, and the American public and the world about what it knows for far too long. It's time for this story to be told. I think the NHI are showing themselves in our skies to twig our consciousness, to make us humans aware of capabilities that many of us don't even realise we have. And I've seen those capabilities demonstrated in recent months. I know they're real, and I frankly don't give a flying fig what the debunkers or the skeptics or the trolls would say about that. It's real, and they will soon be eating humble pie. The capacity for the human mind to engage externally with some kind of uber consciousness has been speculated about in science. Go and have a look at the work on microtubules. Let's have a look at what modern science is speculating about a quantum connection between the human brain and an external consciousness. That's where we're going in this. So what if UAPs are merely a manifestation of something that is above and around us? A consciousness. Some might call it God. Yeah, I know, this is heavy stuff. But what if the purpose of its engagement with the human race is to slowly twig our awareness and to encourage us to use abilities that we don't even know we have? I'm very interested in hearing from people who were part of the GATE program 20 to 30 years ago, who found themselves in rooms with US Air Force officers and strange psychologists in white lab coats, showing them on occasion strange, apparently non-human objects. Yes, this has been happening. Young kids, prepubertal kids, have been misused in experimentation by our military in experiments designed to develop an understanding of how to engage with the phenomenon, with a consciousness. And I think at the same time that NHI consciousness is trying to engage with humanity individually. I've spoken to so many people. I had a message this morning from one person who's an very senior US Air Force person working in a very sensitive area, who told me that they had psychic abilities and they'd never spoken about it, but when they told me about their sighting of a gigantic craft, I said to them, by any chance, do you have psychic abilities? Have you ever had an intuition or a precognition? And they said they were very moved by my question because they'd never really spoken about it, but yes, they have.
Mel, welcome back.
Thank you for having me.
Always wonderful. There would be no show without you and Erik. Erik, welcome.
Hello, Jennylyn and JENIFLIX and all the fans. We love you all.
We certainly do, because those of you still watching, you are our true supporters, and clearly you are awake. So Mel, I would like to hand this over to you now to share the breakthroughs that we've had this week, or share the happenings of this week.
Okay, well, before coming on here, I sort of asked my spirit team to see what potentially we could share today and what we can't. And I know that Erik will also use his discernment. There are some things I can share, and that's what I will begin with. And for that, I'm going to speak of the otherworldly race, the Anunnaki. Okay, now I can speak of what has happened to me specifically, and that does not involve Erik just yet. We will maybe touch on that in a little bit. But what we all know, or what we've said before on this show, is that Erik has encountered this particular, shall we say, this really ancient Anunnaki being before in Belgium, who was clearly highly advanced, okay? And he had made sort of a deal with Michael, and, you know, the deal was to the extent of, you know, we're leaving you alone, you can do whatever you want with the others, meaning, you with the reptilians, whoever else, as long as you leave our power resources alone, right? As it turned out that this was actually pretty quickly, let's say, that contract, or shall we say, a promise, whatever it is you want to call it, was didn't last long. It didn't even last like an hour or two, because they came after Jennylyn after that really quickly. So I just want to give a little bit of a backstory here. So I was not really involved with the Anunnaki at that point, unless there was something at Jennylyn's house and I had to go there and I had to deal with it. We found Anunnaki symbols. We found Anunnaki stuff there before that was, targeting her as well. So I'm leading up to this because at one point I actually was taken, saw a portal in Jennylyn's yard. And so, if you might recall, Erik went to Egypt, ancient Egypt at one time, and I sort of stayed, on my couch, if you so will. Well, Erik wasn't with us, so I decided to go into that portal, and I ended up in ancient Sumeria. And ancient Sumeria is where kind of is connected to the Anunnaki. And I found a particular object that was shaped like a oval, and it had something inside of it. It was breathing almost. It was alive. There was something inside of it, and I didn't know what to do with it. And one of the gods came as I'm pondering and wondering what to do with this and why I was there, and he guided me so as to disable this particular object. And we did. So I disabled this object. At the time, I didn't realize what it was. So then, fast forward, I was actually, whether it was the following day or the day after, in the mornings as I'm doing my meditative time, I was guided to a place inside the earth that had more of these things that I had seen in that ancient Sumerian place, except they weren't really breathing per se. They were just, they looked similar, but they didn't have that, whatever was going on the inside. And I knew immediately that what I was looking at was Anunnaki as well. Now, again, up at this point, most of my involvement, except for more recently before that, was with the reptilians. So I wasn't familiar with what I was looking at. And I quickly realized, and I was told, that this is some sort of power station, okay, from the Anunnaki. It was deep inside the earth, and they seem to be using these crystals or whatever they are. And they look like crystals to me, but they're probably not, or maybe they are part of it, I don't know. So when I was there, I, of course, asked my spirit team, okay, you brought me here for a reason. What am I supposed to do with this? And I was told to sort of disable what was there. And I did. So I did do whatever I do in this place, and I left it at that. Well, this kind of resulted in some other stuff. So I wanted to give this backstory because I was working in Jennylyn's yard again one evening, just simply clearing out things, and I saw another portal. And I had gone through this particular portal before, and it was a portal to a desolate place. Now, when we say portal, we don't go through every portal. It's almost as if we're being guided to go through it. So I was guided to go through this portal, and I ended up in this desolate place. And what found me there was the Anunnaki guy who Erik encountered at, in the Belgian place, this ancient being. And I said, okay, well, that's interesting. And he wasn't aggressive or anything, because he doesn't have to be. And he handed me a sort of like a scroll type document. And I thought to myself, well, this is interesting. I can't really see in my spiritual form, but maybe if I open it, I'll see what I need to see. And I did. So I opened the scroll, and inside the scroll was the word truth. So I thought, well, this is interesting. I didn't make any promises at this moment. I'm not authorized to do that. I don't feel as though I'm the one who can do that. So I told him I will take the scroll and I will think about it. And I left the portal and went back to Jennylyn's house. Well, what happened afterwards was that not too long after that, I kept hearing a certain name in the recesses of my mind. It was the name of an ancient goddess, a goddess I have not worked with and I don't know much about. So I kept hearing it and I didn't have time to connect, but I knew that when she was so persistent that I needed to. And that particular goddess's name was Ishtar. Now, for those of you who don't know who Ishtar is, she is the Mesopotamian goddess of war and connected to the Anunnaki. Okay, so that was very, very interesting. And so when I did finally connect with her, she wanted to address the truce that the other Anunnaki guy was, asking for. And I said, well, it's almost as if between me and Michael, who was there, we were kind of saying to her, okay, listen, we have no problem with truces, but it is you who have, breached the first sort of truce, if you so will, and we cannot really trust you. Let's put it this way. We would like to, however, if an Anunnaki person, or not person, but a being, an Anunnaki is involved in the attack of Jennylyn, or in any way, shape, or form impedes or stands in our way on the mission that we have to do, then they will be taken out. Okay, so that is what we ended up agreeing upon with Ishtar. Now, of course, when that was agreed upon with Ishtar, I thought to myself, well, we'll see how long that lasts. Because of the bad experience with the other guy. But as it turns out, Ishtar, as the goddess of war and as, a higher authority in the Anunnaki, she took this much more seriously than, that other guy did. And it actually, and I never said this to you, Jennylyn, one time after that happened, you were attacked, before you were attacked by reptilians or somebody in your, I don't remember who it was, in your home. And as I'm trying to work on your vessel to try to remove it, all of a sudden there was this guy. I say guy, but it's a being. Okay, so she'll forgive me. This being, and I didn't recognize what he was. Again, I don't see as well as Erik says, so I'm trying to figure out who was this guy. But he was trying to help Jennylyn, and I'm thinking, there's this strange being who's helping Jennylyn. And then it dawned on me, and then Ishtar showed up, and she said, I knew it was an Anunnaki. And Anunnaki was trying to help remove something that was reptilian from her vessel, from Jennylyn's vessel. Yes. And Ishtar asked, oh, please allow him to do so. Allow us to do so. It was her goodwill, her effort in trying to, let me know. And of course, Michael probably, that they mean business. Okay, they meant this. Okay, this truce that they were suggesting. And I said, okay, and you did. They did remove it, and you did feel better. Okay, so I never told you this, but that was part of it. Yeah. So the point I'm trying to make by, speaking of this is that we don't just go after, these beings who attack, but we are literally sort of communicating and negotiating, if you so will, with these otherworldly beings who are, of authority or not of authority. I mean, obviously, most of them who we negotiate with have some sort of pull within their own, collectives or whatever you want to call it. And that is what happened. Now, this, interestingly enough, led to something else. And I'm going to pass this on to Erik, because I don't know what he can reveal from this, probably only parts of it, but that, for instance, led to another occasion where then Erik and me both were in her in her yard, and we were on a three-way call. And I said to Erik, there is another portal. And I knew that it wasn't mine to go into. I just know offhand that it's not mine to go into. And so Erik went in there, and I guess I'll hand it over to you, Erik, because you ended up somewhere in South America, I think. Right.
Yeah, so that's I immediately went into the portal. I kind of, as soon as Mel said that, hey, I think this is for you, I already knew what was generally going to happen. So I went through the portal, and I was in like an old ancient ruins in Guatemala, and there was a pyramid. It seems like everywhere we go, there's pyramids involved. In the ocean. We were in Egypt, we were in ancient Egypt. We're here in Guatemala, where all these pyramids are at. So I went in, and immediately, I touched the pyramid. It gave me a doorway to walk through. I walked through the doorway, and then Mel was kind of guiding me through like she did last time. And then she said, stop and look up. And there was like a big, just like a long tunnel. It was almost like a shaft that went all the way like up to the top. So I said, okay, well, all right, I'll fly up there. So I flew up there, and I ended up like there was a platform, but we were at like the top of the pyramid, and it was all hollowed out in the middle and open. So I walked up, and I could see like a table there was a bunch of Anunnaki there. And so there's parts of this part that I can't talk about because they gave me two things. I told you guys there was one, but there were two because I couldn't tell you the other one. So there are two things that they gave me. And at first I didn't think they could see me because they were just kind of ignoring me. But then I started walking a little bit closer, and they all turned and looked at me. And, so I had to say, hey, I'm just here checking things out. Like this is like an audit. What are you guys doing up here? So they didn't see me as a threat, and for some reason I feel like they were honoring the truce, even though it was like this was in ancient times once again. But I feel like they knew about the truce because usually they say, like, when I see Anunnaki, they always get standoffish with me, and this time they did not at all. It was almost like they were okay with me being in that room. So I took the items, and then I left and came back through. But the items, especially the second item that they gave me is significant for something in the near future. So that's basically what happened. Do you guys keep hearing that voice?
Yes, I keep hearing someone speaking. It's almost like they're answering what you're saying.
Yeah, it's like a
There
mail.
is Mel. You can't miss it. At least on my end, it's very clear, and it will be on the recording.
I don't hear it as clear at all. I think it more comes through in whatever form that you need to hear it. I didn't hear it that much at all, and I can hear. So it's really interesting that sometimes when we hear these voices, they're more pronounced on Erik's end or your end, but not on mine. But when we listen to the recording, then I can hear it,
Right.
And it's like really, really loud, and I'm thinking to myself, well, how come I didn't hear that? It's because I wasn't supposed to, I guess. I don't know, not at that very moment, but yes. No, and I think, Erik, real quick, I think when I said to you, when you walked in there, tell them Ishtar sent you.
Yeah.
Remember, that's what it is. So
Yeah.
Ishtar, the Mesopotamian Anunnaki goddess, knew, probably informed them or had contacted them.
Yeah, they knew. They definitely knew what was going on.
Yeah.
So it was more of a, I think I was just supposed to go obtain, especially this one item. I think that it seems like every time, both times that I've had to go through a portal, it was to receive something that was needed for something. So it'll be interesting to see if we have more portals and where they'll take me. So I feel like my portal hopping is not over with.
No, it's not, because I believe every portal that you and Mel have gone through, it's going on the side of peace. some of the worst attacks that I suffered were Anunnaki attacks. Until the recent one this week, which I got from an African tribe, which I don't know if we can share today, but I am so grateful we're calling a truce with the Anunnaki, because at the end of the day, we don't want wars anywhere, not in the spiritual realm, not in the physical realm. And the only reason we are even fighting is because we have to defend ourselves. And we have come under so much attack. I know that I physically experience it, but Mel and I do on some level, because before I stepped into my own power, I completely depended on them. And so those of you who are my enemies that watch Sandra Tang, you and your Chinese people will not stop. So now you're not going to have to deal with Mel and Derek. You are dealing with me in the power I've been sitting on and was afraid to embrace. Okay, back to you and Eric. I am not sure if we could share the story about the Africans.
I don't have any restrictions on that one. So, but
Okay.
I think Mel's who brought me into that.
Okay, before Mel tells, I will explain how Mel even got involved. I was on my way to work. I think it was Thursday morning, and I was so brutally attacked. I did not wait for Mel. I called Mel and I said, Mel, I'm experiencing something I've never had before. And I don't know what it is, but it's not good. And so Mel checked, and she says, I'm finding myself somewhere in South Africa, I think you said, Mo. You can correct me if I'm wrong exactly where it was, because I was in so much pain. All I heard was African tribe. And she said, I had one of the most dangerous snakes placed into my body along with snake's eggs. So I'll let Mel take it over from here, because that's all I heard. And then I freaked out because I don't like snakes.
So, well, it actually begins the night before, when we were all on a three-way call again. And basically we had asked, it wasn't a long call, we had asked Eric, hey, there's somebody in around her. Can you please check? Can you please check who it is? Or maybe we weren't even on a call. I don't even know. Maybe we just texted him, but he responded. And can you check to see who this is? And Eric actually came back and did his thing, and he said, well, there was a tribal guy there, and an African tribal guy, now, which is totally came out of it's just a surprise, because we don't have any conflict or tiffy with any African tribes, no less. When we're talking about a tribal person that is, you find in the bush, right? So Eric can speak on this, but I guess he was very, very skilled in the way he fights, and it took him quite a bit. He really challenged him. So anyhow, that is the same. When I tapped into the energy the next day to try to help her, I caught, energetic, whiffs of this, again, this tribal stuff. Okay, so I knew it was from the same people, and I had tried to take out them myself. I had actually, these were so elaborate, and I can't even explain it. For instance, at one point, I literally saw in my mind's eye a tribal person looking in onto the scene through the ethers, which none of the other magi or warlocks has ever done like that. Okay, they were so skilled in whatever it is they were doing. I was not, it was surprised, because we didn't realize that we had an enemy in Africa from, tribal people. Who were these people? What did we do to them? And unfortunately, I did what I could, but I took out, as you said, I found a bunch of snakes, and one of the snakes that came out of me was a black mamba. I actually heard black mamba. And so I knew that they were using some very earthly methods, some very natural methods to try to attack her. There was no wires or electrocution going on. It was all natural, right? There were some cactus pieces that were causing pain in her back. There were all sorts of stuff. So that was the thing with that. Now, when we got together later, I think it was later that evening, is that we said, okay, we need to do something. Erik needs to do something about this tribal thing. And actually, I don't know if we can, yes, okay, okay. I wasn't sure if we can do that, but I got a hit, like I always do. I get a hit of where this is coming from, where this tribe is. So I was told that this particular tribe was in Kenya, and it was at the foot of this mountain Kilimanjaro, right? So we had a location, and the location is important because when I give a location or roundabout, I can tell Erik, and then Erik kind of knows where to go. So that's when we talked, I told Erik, hey, listen, these tribal people, that's where they are. I think you need to go and check out what the heck is going on. Why these tribal people, what beef do they have with Jennylyn? Okay. And right. So I'm going to hand it over to Erik because Erik did find them, and that's when he got some information. So
Right. So I did go there like instantly. I found him very quickly, and he was not one to have conversations. As soon as he saw me, he was ready to fight me, and so we had this little battle. And I knew that I could, eliminate him very quickly, but I felt that I wasn't supposed to. So I just kind of fought him to a draw, but he was very skilled. So after he had realized he wasn't going to beat me and I wasn't going to destroy him, then he just stopped, and then he started to speak. And so I had asked him, I said, why are you angry? What is the problem? And he said, we're my tribe is here for thousands and thousands of years to protect the power of the mountain, and the power's gone, and we did it. And so when we took down the grid, we eliminated the Anunnaki had given them this job to protect this power grid. So they felt like they had not done their job. So they were upset with us for taking out the grid. And so that's why when he saw me, he instantly fought, 'cause he knew exactly who I was and what we did. So I just, then Mel said, well, maybe give him something else to do. I said, okay, that's a good idea. Let me talk to him. So I talked to him. I said, hey, the grid's not going to come back. You can't just stand here and just continue to fight anybody who walks up to this mountain. So I said, you have tribal people that need you, that need good fighters, that need good protectors. So go back to your tribe and take care of them and keep them safe. And so he had made that agreement. He said, okay, he said, I'm going to leave 2 of my soldiers here, but I'm going to go back and protect my tribe. So, he didn't have like a massive amount of people like he did at first. It was almost like every male of their tribe was at the mountain. And so he sent everybody back, but left 2 just in case their, what do they call them? He called them something. Their creators. Their creators come back and reinstall the power in the mountain. So I was like, okay, that's fair. You can leave 2, but go back to your people. And so he wasn't, I don't think, obviously these guys were just an isolated group. This was an isolated incident. It wasn't something that I believe that was, a major part of this whole story. We just happened to stumble upon them accidentally and affected their little tribal way of life. So we corrected it, and everything seems to be fine now. There's no qualm between us and this tribe that's in Kenya.
And I want to add that while Mel and Erik were working, they were so cooperative. Men, I know this is going to sound crazy to you guys, but both Erik and Mel, I think Erik did too, saw them giving me an anti-venom whatever. And they were assisted in removing the things, the snakes and whatever that they had done to my vessel. They were working with us to remove them. So all good. We haven't had any problems with them either since then.
Right. And I want to add, this just, goes to show how the Anunnaki really have been an intricate part in human history, because this is a perfect example of how the Anunnaki have been around for thousands of years, right? And they have had something, or they have had something in the mountain, which again, what Erik said, was dismantled or disabled because of the power grid that was taken down. It was powered by this power grid that was now no longer being threatened through the truce. See, this is all connected. But somehow these tribal people, they knew who did it. This is how skilled they are. Now, these are people who are not from the Western world, right? These are tribal people in the bush, right, Erik? They look like you would find, like when that you see in Africa. They don't have any modern day things. But they're so trained and in this kind of thing that it's been passed down through generation after generation, hundreds and hundreds, and probably thousands of years. Okay, however long that we believe this is just one of many who are in the world potentially, who are protecting or monitoring in some shape or form certain otherworldly things, mechanisms, whatever they may do. So this is mind blowing. If it's something out of I don't know, out of ancient aliens. Okay, if you so will, and it really, really is. And I felt actually kind of good. And I want to add to what you said, Jennylyn, is actually the visual I got when this medicine man that Erik was, sort of asked to assist to take it out. I saw him do medicine man things. He actually took which appeared to be some sort of bushel of a plant, and just I saw him sort of going around you and waving it around you and doing all sorts of things. So it was like I was literally witnessing a medicine man doing his job, and I only saw parts of it. But yes, so I knew that they were doing that. They were literally working on taking out what it is that they put in, because the bite of the mamba. And, if those of you who don't know what a mamba is, a black mamba is probably one of the deadliest snakes in the world, or at least Africa. Okay. So, but the mamba, they use that. And when we talk about magic and so forth, which comes in many forms, whatever the effects are of what the witch does, or the warlock, or whatever it is projected onto the person. So if they wanted to affect her with the bite of a black mamba, then that is what the symptoms she would experience. And I wouldn't put it past them to be able to actually snuff out a person's life by doing that eventually, okay, by doing this kind of magic. So these people are very powerful. But again, it's all connected to the Anunnaki. You see how this was important for us to do this truce, for Ishtar to come in and to do this. So kind of like we're not working with the Anunnaki per se, but we are really kind of in a place where, okay, you don't bother us, we don't bother you, right? And so this is how we're going to do it. So the Anunnaki for now are
we just keep running into them. Like they're getting more and more active, and we're seeing them more. So we're not working with them, but they're showing up in our journey a lot more frequently now.
Right. And I almost think it's because also, Erik, because you were asked to go into this portal, they are, even though I say they're not working with us, but they are somehow, we do share, even though I don't know exactly what that is, we do share some kind of common goal in all of this. Okay. Which is why they are so cooperative, and which is why the goddess Ishtar became involved because she is literally, she's an authority on this. Okay, so it's very fascinating and interesting where this takes us, this whole journey. And I just, I thought that when we're doing all these things all the time, and you're right. I don't know what portal you're going to go in next, Eric,
Right.
but just probably someplace. And he always goes someplace ancient. That's the crazy part. And so it's literally we go to a place that no longer exists, and it gives you and us like a peek at what was something that it actually existed that we otherwise would never ever have access to or knowledge of. Right? This is fascinating. So I just can't wait to see, what happens next. Let's hope that it doesn't involve Jennylyn's attacks, because we are.
My mind, I'm like, really? Okay.
No, right, exactly. But I just, I, and we've said this before, is that this isn't just about Jennylyn. This really has taken us to different avenues and different ways to affect the human collective in ways that we never thought possible. And I can't say it enough, and I'll say it again. What happens in the spiritual realm, in the ethereal, happens first, and before it ever comes into the physical. So what we do in the spiritual is of importance, and we take that very, very serious. And I know, what Eric was talking about, the things he got from the Anunnaki was important, and they, needed to be taken serious. Let's put it that way. This isn't just all fun and let's go there and go there, but there are some serious things that we're faced with, some serious decisions, and using our discernment and using our best judgment with the help of higher guidance to do this. I mean, it just is. It's really, nobody thought for one moment that when I started working with you, Jennylyn, that it would take us down that road.
That is an understatement. I had no clue what Sandra Tongue and Dutchman had intricately involved me in, because these realities did not exist in my consciousness. I may have read of them in the Bible or seen them in a movie, and I have to say, I've always wondered what mind conceives ideas like this, and where does it come from? Well, I got my answer, and now I know where it has come from. And Mel, I don't know if you were finished, but when you're finished, I wanted to insert something.
Yeah, no, I think I said everything I needed to say with regard to that subject. So yeah.
Since Mel and Erik have called a truce with the Anunnaki, I have to be honest, they've been honoring their agreement. I have not had attacks from the Anunnaki, and I knew when I got them because they were the worst. And so right now, thank God, most of my attacks are coming from the reptilians, which are tied in with Sandra Tongue and her clan. And Sandra and her clan are relentless. They won't stop. I know every week we know that we've put them down, but I don't know if it's the money they were making or if it is her overwhelming desire to put me down. I'm not sure which one it is, but she hasn't stopped. And a few nights ago, I asked Erik to go check the house of her worker here in my neighborhood because I wanted to know if the map was still up. And that curiosity was triggered by the fact. Did you guys hear that?
Yep.
That curiosity was triggered at the fact that Sandra Tongue and her clan are trying to put back in operation the operation at my place that Erik and Mel demolished. They're trying to put back a makeshift thing. And I told Mel they're using my trees. Now, how I know this, I don't know. I know it has to be my guides pointing me in that direction. Because I said to Mel, they're still trying, Sandra Tong and her clan are still trying to reconnect the operation that we demolished, because there's some gain that's coming from it. Maybe it's money, I don't know.
That was a female.
What?
A
Did you
female.
hear that?
Yeah. We've
For
had
the
male
miss?
and female.
Yes. Sandra! You can't win, bitch. Anyway, that's the name you call us, by the way. And so I pointed out the trees to Mel, and Mel, sure enough, went, and they were using all the trees on the property. That's how desperate they've become. So Mel cleared the trees, and we found something that Mel was blocked from, and they said it was an Erik job. So that evening we connected with Erik. Maybe that was the night you went through the portal. Oh no, that's the night you went to the portal. You were taken to a place where we were not sure what action, and right now that's on pause, as far as I know, unless action has been taken that I'm not aware of. But let me finish the story, and then I'll hand it over to Erik to tell what he can share. But I said to Erik, Erik, can you please go to the Chinese house and see what's happening with that map? Erik, you can tell them what you found when you went.
So I like going over there because as soon as I walk in the door, they lose their mind. Like they just start yelling and cussing at me and like they go crazy. So it's entertaining to me to go over there. And I just walk around like I own the place and they hate it. And like I'm not sure if they can like visually see me, but they can feel my presence and at least, and they just go nuts. Like there's a whole house full of people over there, probably like six people that live in this place, and they just lose it. I'll just walk right through the front door, and they go crazy. And so I just start walking around. I go up the stairs, this room that's up there that used to be locked, where they got this, like the whole room's a giant map. It's actually kind of impressive when I look at it. It's really neat. Like there's symbols, there's like holograms of stuff. It's very like advanced, like kind of like almost like a three-dimensional map kind of. There's certain things that kind of pop out that you have to that they want you to get highlighted and see. But I mean they basically, there it is again.
Yeah, if they could build a map as elaborate as that, they're clearly tuned into us. Would you guys like to come in and say something? You're
Yeah.
welcome.
Yeah, send them the link.
You have to know that I'm not crazy when I'm telling you guys about this Sandra Tongue. It's only when we're talking about her that we're getting this kind of interference. Anyway, Erik, so you go in and you see the map. She tried to stop you, right?
Yeah, she always tries to stop me. Like even the last time when I went over there and I was dressed like a Girl Scout, like she didn't want to buy any of my cookies. And it's like Girl Scout cookie time. Like she's loading up her freezer. She didn't want to buy any. And so yeah, she tries to stop me, and I just kind of just, yep, I'm just gonna keep going. Yeah, you guys can get mad. So they're always do it's like watching there's a cartoon where they got the Doofenshmirtz guy, and he's always up there plotting in his little mansion, and that's what they're always, these guys are always plotting something all the time. And so when I don't think they work real jobs. I think they just sit around and they just plot.
This is their job. This is their job.
I would imagine that if I was to dig a little bit deeper into there, that they actually like have cons and stuff that they run on other people outside of. I feel like they're con people.
We
And
need to dig. We need to dig and find it. And
yeah, that's probably something that I could probably start to do is, find out what their con is, or what their, how do they make money? How do they afford what they're doing? So, because they do it, the place is nice. It's a nice place. Are you guys done talking? Can I talk now? Yeah. But they have a nice place. It's, it's well kept, and they have, nice things in there. But they're always doing something. There's always something going on. The map has certain certain things that they have. It's almost like when they have a mission or something that the I need to trace the energy of the map, because I feel like that map can be used for good and bad. That's what I get when I look at this map. So Mel, that might be something that you can tap into, but it's helped me before, but it's also like they use it for what they do. So it's kind of a, I don't know if they made it or if somebody gave, or if this was just given to them to use, which I'm guessing that's probably what happened. But there's boy, they really don't like me talking about this.
Oh my God, people, we can't make this up.
I think
So
they don't,
they don't want the exposure.
they're getting exposed. They don't like it.
Yep, nope, nope. They're going nuts because we're exposing them. Well, Santa Tang, you and your clan, the time is up. Although you don't want to admit it, you want to keep fighting. You have 3 people fighting against you now. The dragon is in full force.
And I might just go to your house tonight.
Yep, I think we need to make a trip. Well, I've been burning the map every day. That's why I asked Eric to go. I'm like, Eric.
Jennylyn did catch it on fire. It was smoldering. And because she was like, I've been burning this thing like for an hour. I was like, okay. So it was smoldering, but I think the map it's not gonna stay like it kind of can regenerate itself. I think there's a lot of power in this map.
Okay,
I probably have misidentified how significant this map is. It's a very useful tool. It has lots of power.
But the question is useful for what? So far, it has been for nefarious purposes. We haven't seen the good that this map is serving. So we have to find a way to demolish the map. Because I believe, and guys, this is how we work at night, just like this. You're getting a taste of how we work. We paste and connect pieces together. But in my opinion, the fact that they're still trying to do something in my yard, this map is connected to that operation, which I still believe has to do with trafficking human souls.
It is.
And so we have to take it down. I don't care what, we have to take it down. And by the way, the morning after Eric went over there and did some damage, the next morning, I was on my way to work and I told Mel this. That same Chinese woman whose photograph I have, so I'll never forget her, because I took her photograph in the grocery store and she was stalking me, so I have it for the police, is in a car coming from the opposite direction. And we kind of connected at an intersection, and she had to stop because I had the right of way. And all of a sudden, she leans forward in her car and starts waving at me and smiling like she's my friend, like I would forget her. And I thought, I don't know anybody in this neighborhood. Who's that? And my hand was coming up to wave back when I saw who it was. And I was livid. I just hit the gas and I called Mel. And I said, Mel, can you believe this? Why would she be doing this? And we couldn't quite figure it out. But I think Eric did some damage and they were acting like we did something to hurt these really nice people. Like they don't realize we know what is going on. So this is kind of what we've been dealing with. Now hand this back over to Mel and Eric. Mel, you were going to say something because I called you.
No, yes. No, I just want to, as you're talking about this map, as I'm tuning in, I'm getting a connection to who fuels this map.
Can you say or no?
No, we're not going to disclose that right now. But I'm definitely, I'm asked to mention it here. I've already gotten a hint. I already know. in a way. And you know how this works. When I know, then I go tell Erik, and then Erik goes. So, yeah, that's kind of how this works. Okay. So, you know, and this is how quickly I was never drawn to looking at this map because I don't go into that home, and I don't need to. Okay. I just I know exactly what is for me to do and what's not for me to do. Right. Like, you know, and some things are for Erik and some things are for me. And as you're talking, that's exactly what came in. It's something came in, and there's let's just put it that way. There's some place that we haven't been to.
Okay, hold that thought, Mel. Last night, I went to dinner with a friend, and while I was at dinner, I was getting stabbing pains in both of my jaws. Like someone was piercing my jaws with an ice pick, like banging it. And Mel was out, Erik was out, and they're trying to get me because the message from the divine is I need to step into my power and help myself. So yesterday morning, I got a lot of help from Melanie Erik on how I can do this, and I was letting my niceness get in the way. Because Mel says that I'm so nice that and it's true, I can't do bad things and feel good about it. But that was the past, because now I'm prepared to only do bad things if this is what it's going to take the bullies down. And I mean it. And I've been practicing. But I was in a compromise situation because I was out to dinner with friends. And when I came home, I messaged Mel, who just happened to be available. We checked, and we found Sandra Tang and her cronies with voodoo dolls. I cannot make this up, with voodoo dolls piercing me with pins. And it is happening right now. That's how I remembered. They're doing it right now. So this is confirmation that they don't like what the dots we just connected. I am being poked in my jaws right now with voodoo dolls. When I am not speaking, you can't see my face with my eyes are closed, and I was doing some damage control. So back to you, Mel.
Well, that's exactly what it is. You know, they're really trying, and this is, I know that her ego is so big that Sandra Tang's ego is incredibly big. And not only that, but she has a lot to lose. I know, and we've been getting this from, we said this before in the beginning of the series, not the JENIFLIX, but a long time ago, is that she comes from a family who's doing this. And we've actually figured out, we believe that her involvement was passed down to her by her family. So she isn't mastermind of this thing. She just merely was born into it and carries on with it. Okay. And you know, I'm very interested to see when Erik mentions that the map can also be used for good, what that means. I have not been like drawn to check into it, but I feel the need to now. And what I received is not the good part. Okay, it is who is sort of involved with the map for nefarious purposes still. That's why I can't say it. But I'm interested to see what can be done, because again, this is kind of my territory, right? Is energy transforming of energy, releasing of energy, okay? Doing things, dismantling of energy, okay? That's my thing. This is why, again, the Anunnaki power grid, I did that, okay? I went into the thing and did that. Whereas Erik did some other stuff, and we all share different things. We do different things. So I'm interested to see where that is, like what that is. And it seems as though we could use the map for good, right? Or we could turn things around, or maybe for good in terms of locating something so that less bad things happen to other people. Maybe that's what this is. I don't know yet. I don't have a feeling on this.
You are speaking. That's exactly what I was being told. The good that the map can be used for, you, Eric, and I are the ones that will use it for that good, because they have never used it for good. But they created something to do what they've been doing to mankind, and we will use their bad weapon and use it for good. That's what I just received. Eric, I don't know what you want to add to this, but one other thing I want to say, I happen to know Sandra Tong was born and raised in Washington, D.C., and was raised in a family that I am told was connected to a certain organization, which I will not mention here. Over to you, Eric.
Well, I have breaking news, and I had to check to make sure I can say it.
I love it when he says that.
So it's Elon Musk news. His mom, and his brother are Palladians.
Oh God, are you kidding? This is why he's getting so much backlash.
Yeah.
He's one of us.
Dad's not.
That's why there's stories of him going through portals. So he is on the side of humanity. You heard it here first. And you're hearing it from one of the seraphim angels.
There's
Wait.
something. He's got one more major humanitarian thing he's gonna do.
No wonder the dark is trying to tear him apart and saying how he's the Antichrist. And, whenever the dark side is beating up on a person, is a sign that they're connected to the light. That's why they've been kicking my, you know what? So that's awesome news, Eric.
Yeah, it just came to me like they're saying like they just dumped all this information on me like in like 3 seconds.
Because they want the world to know this.
Better take notes.
I know. I feel like I should walk around with a notebook all the time. Somebody's trying to interfere.
Yep. It's so sad. Our Chinese contingency, they're livid because we're giving so much exposure to their secret operation and all the people that they've lied, fooled, and used over the years, including myself.
Yeah, I have to be careful how I tell the story about when I go over there because I do some very ignorant things in that house that I can't repeat or I'll get canceled. They can't stand me in that house.
It can't be worse than anything they are doing to humankind. Let's put it that way. So one thing that makes me laugh, and while you guys were speaking, my guides told me to share this. This is what I know about Sandra Tong. She talked to me a lot when I was living in California, and she always looked like a homeless person. It's funny that Eric jokes about being a Girl Scout cookie salesperson when he visits her little scavengers here in Howard Beach, because the first time she showed up at my front door, I thought she was selling Girl Scout cookies. And I swear, everyone who knows me will tell you that was my description of her. And everyone I know always says when they see her, she's always wandering around like a homeless person. And I cannot make this crap up. The other night, and I've never shared this with Mel and Eric, that's exactly what Eric said to us. He goes, every time I see this woman, she's wandering around like a homeless person. Verbatim, that's what he told us. So then that was my confirmation that he was really connecting with Sandra Tong.
Yeah, you can't just like go to her house. You have to go like literally go through the streets and find her. But now I know where her energy signal is, so I can find her pretty quickly. But before it took me a while. I was like, where is this lady at? Like she's wandering around the streets.
And the one time Mel found her at night, it was midnight, and she was laying with her eyes rolling over like a witch, which she is. But unfortunately, my life had to cross with this human, and I think it's to do exactly what we are doing now, taking down the human trafficking, soul trafficking organization that she is running, or whoever is running, that she and her cronies are living big off of.
Right.
Because I know someone who always boasts of her wealth and how much money she has. And I've always wondered how she made that much money doing what she does. And it's all adding up now. It's just unfortunate there's some very nice people I know and care about that are still blinded by who she really is. But that's between God and them to open their eyes. But regardless, we're taking down that operation. No wonder she's always coming to me and saying we can never take her down. Because we have not been successful yet. So before we wrap, Erik, I'm giving you your chance to leave your closing message for today.
My closing message, what would I like to tell people? Just to continue to be kind. Sometimes maybe turn the TV off and stop watching it, and go out and enjoy nature, and get out in nature and connect with your spiritual self out in nature, because that's where you get your grounding back. And we spend too much time on devices and electrical things, and as we've learned, the more nefarious beings in the world like to use devices and electrical things to try to hurt us, manipulate us. So try to reconnect with the beautiful earth that we live on. That's it. That's my story today.
Mel?
Okay, well, I'm kind of being guided to say that, no matter how long or how much you use to those who are using them in your yard, no matter how many times you use the trees, I know how to disable them. Okay, this is kind of my thing now. You can't use them anymore. And this just came in, and I don't even know if they want me to say it. Why do they always do that? This is to Sandra. The reason why Sandra is seems to be still walking around or not in the garage, because she is in the garage. She has taken it upon herself to use other methods of magic. Okay. She is now tapping into, when we say voodoo dolls, into other forms of magic. But I'm supposed to tell her, Sandra, Papa Legba isn't going to listen to you much longer.
Yeah.
Could you say, ooh, did you hear that? You got to sneeze on that.
You want to know why? Because they are so confident and arrogant about themselves. They don't realize that someone like me has connections. And I have the ability to, let's just see, be very convincing to those who they appear to, okay, which is kind of the same thing as we had with Una, okay, she was using voodoo methods. So Sandra is using another method. She's not using satanic ritual, okay, because the demons don't really listen to her at this very moment, and I'm told it's not. So the demonic thing that she's done isn't done through the past ritual practices. It is coming to fruition because she's been exploring other means to try to get cover or make up for that which she's lost. But she doesn't realize that I'm on to her. And that's kind of what I just heard. So yes, I'll be speaking to Papa Legba. So I don't know. That's what I'm supposed to say. And That's what I'm going to leave it as. And I agree with Erik, on a nice note, be kind to one another. What we say here, some of the messages that I bring forth, I'm being guided by higher guidance to make a point. This is part of why we're here also. Maybe I should leave with that. It's not just to entertain you, your audience, and to give an update, but to also put out a message for those who are listening on the other side. Okay. And that is not a threat, that's a promise. That's what I'm going to leave it as. And this is channeled, by the way. So.
Well, my promise is I don't have to wait on Melanie Erik. I now have a lot of power, and I am the opposite of what you were experiencing in the past. Sitting around all day suffering? No, 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 no. I am fierce. And I am more fierce than Erik because right now there is so much rage inside of me. Don't come at me, Sandra, because I will destroy you. I will destroy you in or out of the garage. You have messed with my life long enough. I'm not even waiting for you. I promise you, I am coming for you or going for you. And on that note, guys, you haven't done me anything. I'm still the sweetheart you've all known me to be. But my enemies, I'm fierce. Go find out who I am. And then you decide if you still want to mess with me. But either way, you're finished. And we will see you next week. I'm so sorry. I'm in the middle of a war. So I have to be a warrior when I'm dealing with the enemy. And hopefully next week we have more, we have better stories to relate. The good news that they are down for good as well as their operation, which they are running off of my home.